listening to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Soretta. On this podcast, we celebrate everything local. If you have been to Tempe, you have likely been up and down Mill Avenue. Well, so has our next guest, Julian Wright, the founder of Pedal House. He has had businesses along Mill since about year 2000. So, Julian, you go way back when it comes to Mill Ave. How did you end up in Tempe?
Well, I ended up in Tempe going to ASU in the early 90s.
Go Devils.
Proud Sun Devil alum.
Yes, same.
And then I left. I lived in Chicago and Denver, trying to figure out what to do, career-wise. Ended up in Denver, I got involved with what's now called Qdoba.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's like similar to Chipotle.
Mm-hmm.
And that job brought me back to Phoenix in 1997. So I'd been gone for 2 years and decided, after working for them for quite a while, I was kind of ready to do my own thing. And it's kind of the old story of me and a buddy wrote down literally on a bar napkin some ideas, and we wanted to do more of a bar with food, but not quick service. Mm-hmm. And we were looking at all over really, but Old Town Scottsdale in particular. I had my eye on this one location. It fell through, and I kind of kept looking. And at the time, there was, I think it was called Blue Burrito Mill. It might have been a little before your time, but it eventually was the location of my first restaurant. And I really picked it because the price was right. It was had a loft kind of urban vibe to it, and it just kind of fit what I was looking for. And I'd been on Mill for many years prior to that, and just seemed like a good spot to try out my first business.
So when you were jotting down ideas with a buddy on a bar napkin, were you sitting in a bar? Where were you?
Most likely.
You don't remember?
I don't think I remember that
where you were.
It might have been after our shift or something.
Okay, so then where did you end up? Where was this space where this Blue Burrito was? Where was that on Mill Avenue?
It's 5th and Mill underneath Gordon Biersch.
Okay.
It's now Spinelli's Pizza.
Yeah. All right. I know that space. And what concept did you put in there?
So, we put in Jack's Thai Bar, THAI. I think when we were discussing kind of our plans, we were talking more about vibe, music, and I ended up picking Thai food because I wanted to do something unique and different. But I'd only eaten Thai food twice in my life at that point.
So you were no expert on this.
I was no expert. I knew I liked it. I thought it was cool. There wasn't a lot of Thai food. And I think I got inspired by a place in Denver. Mm-hmm. I forget the name of it, but it was kind of a little more contemporary, a little more hip. I just thought they did a really good job. And they were a little bit more of a quick service format, but we wanted to have the bar component as well. And then there's a really good place in London called Basuba Thai that was also part of the inspiration. Mm. So, I've done a lot of businesses in my life where I went into it not really overly familiar with the subject matter, you could say, and just hired help or got advice, consulting, or just kind of figured it out as I went. So, having eaten Thai food twice, we opened up Jack's Thai Bar in the summer of 2000.
How long was it around?
It was around, I think I sold it in 2 years, something like that. I call that my learning experience business.
It was graduate school, maybe?
Yeah, I'd been in the corporate world for quite a while at that point, and was just ready to do something different, a little more rough around the edges, I guess you could say. So
we have to bring you back to ASU, because that's what brought you here. And you think about how Pedal House has become such a center point for Mill Ave, and now in Phoenix and in Gilbert too, such big restaurants and landing pads for people. What brought you to ASU and Mill Avenue for that to be your landing pad?
Well, like I said, I came out for ASU. I picked this location on Mill because I liked the physical structure and look of the space. And then just coincidentally, it just worked out that I kind of planted my flagpole on Mill Avenue, which was cool because, I'd spent a lot of time there in college. And it was kind of turning over. I think the Super Bowl was there in 97 or 98 or 96. I can't quite remember. It was while I was living somewhere else. And that kind of started to change the vibe of Mill Avenue quite a bit. So you weren't seeing those legacy live music bars as much. You were seeing more chains come in. So I just saw an opportunity to kind of do more unique, independent stuff. Scottsdale was exploding at the time, and I was a little bit tired of that, what I called the fast lane kind of crowd. EDM music was getting really big, and we had dabbled in that, but I was just tired of it by the time I opened my second spot, which was the Library Bar and Grill, which was more like pitchers of beer and mixed music format. And that place was across the street from Jack's Thai Bar and became a massive success.
Oh, wow.
Got national media attention, which was pretty wild.
Why? Why was it getting national attention?
I think because we did this promotion where if you brought in a book, we gave you a beer or something like
all right.
that.
I like
and
it. Does it have to be a school book?
No, I think we were actually wasn't a school
Yes.
book, but we were trying to fill the shelves, and we needed 3,000 books to do that. And despite the promotion being kind of catchy and getting national attention, we weren't getting a flood of books. Maybe we got 50 at most. So I ended up doing a deal with Bookman's Bookstore. Do you remember them?
Yep, of course.
It was like a used bookstore,
they still
I believe.
have a couple around.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. They're great. So we made a deal with them where we did their Christmas party in exchange for 3,000 books.
Boom. And done. A businessman was born.
Yeah.
You said you went to ASU for Cronkite, for journalism, but
Yep.
you're a businessman all along.
Yeah, I was a broadcast major with an interest in photojournalism.
Oh, wow.
With aspirations to go to film school, but really found I just like the energy of the restaurant and bar business.
Did you work in the bar business? Were
Yeah.
you bartending when you went to school?
Yeah, my first job was at the pool bar at the Buttes Resort in Tempe.
Nice. Classy.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Met my 2 college roommates there. Still friends to this day. In fact, we all went to the USC ASU game the other weekend.
Do you think having businesses on Mill Avenue keeps you tied into those college days, those college years, seeing the college kids today?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is when I was in college, like I wasn't super rah-rah, go ASU football. But now I'm like, I have a pitchfork tattoo and I'm all in on ASU. We sponsor the football program through Pedal House, and I go to a lot of the games, have season tickets. So I almost feel like I'm a bigger fan of ASU and the college and the brand and the excitement now than I was possibly even in the 90s when I went to ASU.
Well, you've been able to run parallel for so many years, and you've had so many concepts kind of sprinkled along Mill Avenue. How many concepts have you done since, 2000 when you began?
Yeah, so I think Devil's Hideaway, which is opening sometime soon, will be my 9th, right in the core of downtown. So quite a few and lots of different styles. I had, La Boca Pizza and Wine Bar. I had Canteen Modern Tequila Bar, Handlebar Tempe, which is a craft beer bar that opened in 2012, which actually was sort of the seed that led to Pedal House, the interest in craft beer and brewing and that kind of thing. So
the craft beer craze continues.
Yeah, it's been zigging and zagging, I would say, lately. I think there was, between the explosion of breweries and then you had the introduction of seltzers and all kinds of, they call them RTDs, ready to drink, vodka soda in a can and that kind of thing. So, the beer industry, I think, has changed quite a bit since we opened Pedal House. I think there was like a saturation of craft beer bars. It's just like anything. A trend gets hot, it explodes, and then it's not as wild and cool and unique as it once was. And, people either move on to other things or just another trend gets hot. But at the end of the day, we try to make Pedal House, even though we have really, really, really good beer, we try to make it a whole experience, between the vibe, the music, the lights, the patio, the full bar. We got a pretty good margarita.
Yeah. Well, what I love about Pedal House is I think of the last couple times I've been, and it's been for Tempe Festival of the Arts to grab a good bite to eat. And you guys have solid food over there.
We have solid food.
So
it takes a village, but we work on it every day, it feels like.
So you have a good meal. You don't have to be the college crowd. Like I was Christmas shopping at the Festival of the Arts. And then another time I was with some of my sorority sisters and we were reconnecting and just having a lunch and a brunch situation. So it meets all needs for people. And then it is right there in that kind of holding tank area of Mill Avenue where everything kind of funnels in to right where Pedal House is. And that means with the craft beer concept, not only did you have to learn how to run a business, you had to learn how to make beer. How'd you do that?
Yeah, I still don't know how to make beer, but I got fairly lucky, although a lot of persistence was involved. And I did find a phenomenal brewer in Doc Osborne. He was a legend even then. Guy's been making killer beer for as long as I've been in the business. So partnering up with him really made it possible for Pedal House to succeed, because even though Tempe, kind of crushes now, it wasn't always that way. Like, it was a little rough at first, and took some soul searching to stick with it. But glad I did.
So why did you stick with it?
I don't think I had a choice.
You were
It
that
wasn't
deep
like
in,
anyone was
yeah?
beating my door down to buy it or take it over. But it's just like, I think any time in your career or personal life, you're struggling and you have to kind of dig deep, pull yourself up off the mat. I basically applied that approach to sticking with Pedal House. So, we did a pretty big remodel. I think it was 9 months after opening. And then that didn't necessarily move the needle as much as I was planning. And it's really been an exercise in just small adjustments, tweaks, constantly trying to improve. But the common theme since Pedal House opened is we always had Doc's delicious, high-quality beer. And I think that kind of got us through some of the tough times. And once we found our identity, we got the whole team rowing in the same direction, like, we really saw that thing take off. And I think now it's doing well over double in sales that it did when we first opened.
Wow. That must feel good.
Yeah, it does. It does. I always say about the restaurant business or bar business, when they're making money, they're the greatest business to be in. And when they're not, they're the worst. So we've had both, and not just in Pedal House, but other businesses I've owned, including La Boca. Started off slow, and we really had to dig deep. In fact, I made most of the pizzas for quite a while there to try to figure it out. And then eventually it was a very successful business at the end. Pedal House has been similar.
And has grown and then moved in to be center points in other communities. So moved on to Gilbert, moved on to Phoenix. Tell me about these locations as well.
Yeah, so Chandler, not Gilbert. We had a restaurant down there already that I'd put a lot of time and money into remodeling the space. Like, we pretty much gutted it. It was Vintage 95, which was a wine bar before us. And that business didn't work out, but we liked Chandler. I was trying to do this sort of Tulum-inspired, higher-end, expensive Mexican concept. And I didn't do a particularly great job of it, but also kind of realized, like, Chandler's like a beer town, and, so we switched it to a Pedal House, and unfortunately, that was 3 weeks before March of 2020.
Oh, my.
Not the greatest time to open a restaurant. And we had great momentum, too. And then, obviously, we had a little bit of a vacation there. And then we came back, and, same as the Pedal House Tempe, we've made a few adjustments. We've remodeled the patio 3 times. We've kept decorating. We've kept building our team, working on the food, doing events. Like I mentioned, we just did a massive Oktoberfest, 2-day Oktoberfest party in the park there with Santan, second year. And just those kind of things, they just start to build loyalty in the community. And sometimes you just got to kind of hang in there and ride it out, and you'll see success eventually.
Well, the community is so important. How have you seen that in your restaurants?
Yeah, it's massive. One thing I like to do is be in my bars, restaurants, whatever it is, and at the bar, sitting at the bar and talking to people and getting to know them and putting a face to the name and trying not to be a faceless business. I've always thought, and the reason I was attracted to the restaurant business is it's a human business at the end of the day, and there's probably more humans involved per dollar of revenue in the restaurant business than any other business on the planet. So you got to enjoy meeting people, and you got to have, I think you got to be kind of a social person to do well. You got to, be able to relate to younger staff members and all that kind of stuff. But I love that. So we did get back open after COVID. And then I think it was about 1.5 years ago, we opened Phoenix.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
That's very cool.
Roosevelt
Where exactly is that?
It's between 2nd Street and 3rd Street on Roosevelt, right across from Arizona Wilderness.
Oh, nice. So great location.
Yeah, and what's called the Monarch Building. It's
Yes.
it's an iconic building, the rich history and art. So we have Pedal House there, which has an interior space and a second floor mezzanine deck with a bar. It's very popular, especially now that we're finally getting into some cool weather.
Oh, it'll be beautiful.
Yeah, It drops below 90s, and I start pulling out the winter gear.
I know. He's got the long sleeves on, the hat. You're almost bundled up.
It's
Julian.
slightly wishful thinking, but when I walked my dog last night at 11 p.m. and I was in shorts and T-shirt, I was a little nippy.
I mean, isn't it wild how I just start grinning ear to ear as the temperatures start dropping? It's what we live for. It's what we've been waiting for, those outdoor patios. And you have such big patios, too, spacious.
I would imagine it's what people in the Midwest feel like when the temperature gets above 50.
Yeah.
Like for us, it's when it gets below 90 and we start getting a little frisky, and we're super stoked that we're out of the thick of the heat.
Yes.
Especially this year, right? I mean, it was one of the hottest summers I remember.
It was relentless. It did not quit.
No.
You have a coffee cup here that has some branding on it for a reason.
Yeah. That's my coffee cup with the après yoga on the back, which is kind of fun. So that's also in the Monarch building, the little coffee shop there, which has become a pretty popular place for people to pull out their laptops, hang out. We also do a lot of events in that space, weddings, corporate parties, drag brunch. We do vintage markets in conjunction with Phoenix General next door. So it's cool. It's almost as much of an event space as it is a coffee shop.
Yeah. So that's important for people to know as the holidays are coming up. Maybe they're thinking about a small gathering, a corporate party, etc., that you have that space right there on Roosevelt Row that's walking distance to your bar, your pedal house.
Yeah,
That'd be a good place to finish the night.
Spitting distance.
Yeah. Okay, so your concepts that you have.
But you never know.
The concepts you have right now are?
So we have technically 4 pedal houses, although the one at the airport, those are sort of bundled license deals, but still got our beer there and pizzas. So we have, the original one in Tempe, which we just moved the brewing production out of into a facility in Chandler. So we expanded that space this summer, which is a great space for private parties as well. We do a lot of them, including one last night. Then Chandler, downtown Chandler, Roosevelt Row. So those are the pedal houses. We're going to start construction on downtown Mesa in January. We had kicked the can a little bit, waiting for prices to come down, which they did a little bit. But we're ready to go on that. That's going to be exciting because it has a really big patio like Tempe. It's right in downtown Mesa. And then other projects I have are, the Coffee is part of Pedal House. But then I have Sake House, a little sushi bar. You ever been there?
No.
Do you like sushi?
California roll.
Okay.
I'm that one. And
Never
then
mind.
rabbit and cucumber, please. But, I'll come visit. You know me. I like to get around. I like to see the new things.
We have beverages.
All right. So where is that?
It's also in Monarch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's technically a separate building, but it's in the same property, basically. And then Lucky's, pretty popular bar in Roosevelt Row. Have you been there?
Yes, I've been there.
All right, there we go.
Indoor-outdoor. Lucky's indoor-outdoor.
Indoor-outdoor,
Okay, yes, I've been there.
indeed. And then Devil's Hideaway opening on Mill Avenue. And there'll be a really cool cocktail bar in there called Idle Hands.
And that's in the space where Rula Bula used to be. So
exactly.
Us old school ASU folks are watching that space.
Yeah,
waiting to see what you'll do with
a
it.
lot of pressure.
Yeah, there is.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool. I liked Rula Bula too.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a drink over at Lucky's Indoor Outdoor. I feel like it came with a Miller High Life.
The spaghetti.
What is that?
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah, so it's a Miller High Life. They pour out some and they put in Aperol. Maybe one of the, I think maybe a little bit of lime juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember it was.
And then they serve the rest of the Miller High Life in like a shot glass.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah. I'd never heard of
thing.
spaghetti. That was Nick Nitz's doing, and they're quite popular.
Yeah. I've interviewed you over the years at different venues, and I always thought it was so interesting how you're willing to pivot, cut and move on to something new. As a business owner, how do you know when it's time to change a concept, especially with restaurants and bars? They change over so often. You dug your flagpole in on Mill and on the Pedal House. How did you know to stick with that concept and let some of the other ones go or flip them or whatever you wanted to do with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, the restaurant business, when it's not making money, it's really stressful. And I think one of the most stressful parts is when the staff isn't making money. Like the servers and bartenders, if you're not busy, they're not making tips. And that's always weighed on me a lot as an owner. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of a gut. There's no crystal ball. You just have to go with your gut. I mean, even Pedal House, we've remodeled 4 times.
Yeah, and you said one of them 9 months after.
One was
you
a big
opened.
one. One was like shake the Etch-a-Sketch and start over from the food. I mean, the only thing we kept was the beer, the name, and the bathrooms.
But what made you do that 9 months after a grand opening and say, we didn't hit it?
We were trying to do farm-to-table European food in a college town with a football stadium 2 blocks away. And, Pedal House, it's in the name, Haus.
Mm-hmm.
We really set out to be more of a European-style beer-forward place.
Okay.
At a time when people only cared mostly about IPAs, if you're a craft beer drinker. So we were doing German-style lagers, Belgian wit beers. So we thought, well, hey, let's carry that through with the food. But it was just impossible. Oh, by the way, we had 350 seats. You know how hard it is to do a farm-to-table Belgian-style food program when you have 350? Yeah, it wasn't working.
And people who come in hungry, they're coming in hot and hungry.
Yeah.
They need to eat now.
Yes, and they don't want to wait 45 minutes for their steak frite.
Now, I do remember that I had a delicious salmon over there, and I don't even like salmon. So,
Really?
So there's that.
Wow.
You guys have that going for you, that I had a delicious salmon.
That's quite the compliment.
So on this podcast, I like to ask about the jump and what it took for you to make that initial move into whatever that job you were doing before, become a business owner yourself and work for yourself. You're a guy who came to ASU from the East Coast, came here to study broadcast journalism, ended up having multiple bars and restaurants in our town over decades. How did you make that jump from one piece to the other?
I think what you're hinting at is I was highly underqualified to do what I was doing.
I would never say that, Julian, especially not to your face.
That's okay. That's okay. Some truth to that. No, I mean, I had worked in the restaurant business and moved up from an assistant manager to my last position was VP of operations. So I'd done 80% of it. I mean, I hadn't created a concept. I hadn't negotiated a lease. I hadn't picked a contractor, an architect, all that kind of stuff. But the first one I did was pretty scrappy. I mean, I was painting walls myself.
This was the Qdoba?
No, this was my first place, Jack's Thai Bar, that leap you're talking about. I mean, I don't recommend this. It's not the smartest way to go about it, but I tend to just jump out of the plane and figure out the parachute on the way down, and I was just kind of ready. I was ready to try it on my own. I think I was about 30 or 31 at the time.
Did you have seed money? Did you have a business partner? Did you have a plan?
I had saved $40,000 from my prior career. And back in the day, you had to go to the library to find a business plan.
No.
I don't even think the World Wide Web existed. I guess it
can't
did,
Google.
but it was in its
microfiche.
infancy. It was in its infancy. I don't remember why. Maybe I tried to. Yeah, I don't think there was Google. I don't know. I don't remember. But I remember going to the library and like, all right, I got to write a business plan. And it's not too hard. It's like got all the categories laid out for you, and you just plug in your information and figure out your menu and drink list. And I think I'd even had the logo done at that point. So I just kind of beat the streets. I did. My grandmother, who I wasn't even approaching to help fund the thing, but she was so impressed with the business plan that she actually ended up giving me some money, and then the rest came from an SBA loan.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, I mean, I went to bank, and, you know, I was pretty young. I'd never really done a pitch. But I was less nervous about trying to find the money than I was convincing the landlord to sign a lease with the first-time business owner, because there was only one landlord. So if he said no, I was out of luck.
Yeah.
But if the bank said no, there's 30 others behind that. And truthfully, throughout my whole career, I've raised most of the money privately since that first business. In fact, I don't think I've had a bank loan really since, other than for Pedal House's expansion into the production brewery. But at any rate, you got to be scrappy. You got to turn over a lot of rocks. You just almost have to have blind confidence that you're going to figure it out. My second bar, the library, I was short $50,000 on a $350,000 project a week before I needed it.
What'd you do?
I was asking everybody. My manager's dad ended up putting in 25, and the guy that was literally dropping off my pool table ended up putting in another 25.
Oh my gosh!
And it was like one of those deals where if I didn't get the money, I wasn't going to make payroll. I wasn't going to pay for my liquor license. I wasn't going to be able to get the booze. We already had the invitation set out for the grand opening. I mean, it was stressful, and I didn't have any more money myself to put in. So but got it done in the 11th hour, got the thing open, and it was a smash success, very financially profitable, a lot of great memories. And, you know, I just raised quite a bit of money for Devil's Hideaway, and, you know, it's like sometimes it comes easy and sometimes it doesn't, but you just got to believe in the project and, you know, keep asking around to get it funded. So that's sort of the history of the funding side. But then taking the leap, like I said, I wasn't that concerned because, you know, it helps that I don't have kids and a family to like that are going to be negatively impacted if it doesn't work. It's just me, and I can and my dog Barley, but I can live pretty lean. Yeah. Like if I had to.
As long as Barley's well fed.
Barley, yeah, and he's pretty scrappy. He eats weird stuff when we're walking.
From the bar.
I've seen him devour a bird.
What kind of dog we have? What kind of dog is Barley? And I imagine named after the beer, Barley.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I so resisted naming him something that was related to beer because it was so obvious. But he is Barley. Yeah. Like, there's no better name for that dog. He's a mutt, rescue mutt, but kind of looks like a little bit of a German Shepherd or maybe a Corgi mix. Mm-hmm. So
German Shepherd Corgi.
Yeah, he's right in between. He's got a long body. His face looks like a German Shepherd.
Okay. We're going to need a photo because we do put this on YouTube. We need a photo.
I think I got a couple in there somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so as long as you and Barley are good, you can take some risks.
We could live in a tent on a beach and be happy.
But I'm hearing blind faith and humility to ask for help at that 11th hour when you need it.
More desperation, I would say. Yeah, because when you're a business, not to mention we'd hired all our staff. They were all looking to me to. They didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. They didn't know the stress I was under to get this money last minute. But at the end of the day, I felt the responsibility to them as well to get the thing open.
I like to ask on this podcast, what are you loving right now? Are you reading something you love? Are you eating something you love? What are you loving in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving my neighborhood. Yeah. I'm loving the community in Roosevelt Row. Yeah. There's such a diverse group of food and beverage options. I mean, everything from like Lucky's to Sotis, which I'm openly a big fan of. It's a block from my house. Oh. It's got a killer vibe, great food, great staff.
How am I spelling this?
Sottise.
Okay.
And it's in that really cute white house that's a block north of Roosevelt on 2nd. A little shout out to you guys. Yeah. They kill it. Cocktails are great. So, yeah, I mean, I've always been a food and beverage guy. I really like traveling, so I travel a ton, and it's partly just because it's fun and partly because I get inspired usually. And
I want to bring some stuff back, steal some ideas, get some inspiration.
I'd say I go to Mexico the most, whether it's Rocky Point, Cabo, or the East Coast, like Playa del Carmen, Tulum area.
Well, you know, I just go to Rocky Point.
You do?
That's where I end up.
That's it?
I was there for January Jam with Roger Klein in January. It was a little too chilly.
Was chilly, yeah.
And then I'm going back for Bike Week.
Oh, nice.
Go check that place
You ride your chopper down there?
Oh, you know it.
Yeah?
Can't you see it?
Nice. I look forward to seeing that on Instagram.
We all do. We all do.
Yeah.
Oh, Julian, it was been a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Much continued success to you. It's pretty exciting what you built here in our community.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Serretta. Our technician is Tom Heidinger. Our editors are Lorraine Shearing and Gina Coy. Do you know a business worthy of some local love? Email me at jserretta@azfamily.com. Follow us at facebook.com/Serretta and Instagram @SerrettaNews. Make sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star review, please. And tell your friends about the podcast and the businesses we feature to show your local love. You can find us on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Jamie's Local Love, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.